Welcome to Outdoors Radio with Dan Small, your source for the latest hunting and fishing information.
Welcome back to Outdoors Radio. I'm Dan Small. Well, it's time for an update on Lake Michigan fishing once again. In the Sheboygan area, it's sponsored by Dumper Dan's Sport Fishing Charters, Condos, and Riverfront Store on South Pier Drive in Sheboygan and on the web at dumperdan.com. And joining us from Sheboygan for what will be our last fishing report of the season, boo-hoo-hoo, actually. Although I imagine he's feeling pretty good about the season coming to an end. Anyway, Dumper Dan Welch himself. Dan, thanks for joining us.
Oh, you betcha. I'm glad to be back, and all I got to say, Dan, is where did summer go?
Yeah, well, it's gone fast, but how's the fishing? Had a little rough weather the last few days, Sunday and Monday, eh?
Yeah, we had some normal September windy conditions out of the east, northeast. The lake chopped up to big waves. I mean, it was big. There were anywhere from 5-foot to 8-foot seas here for a couple of days out of the northeast. So we had to reschedule a lot of trips. Some of them went into next year, some went into this year yet, but clients are real good with me on trying to reschedule everything due to windy conditions. But regardless, when we do get out, Dan, we got a couple different bites going here of fish. We have some kings in front of the harbor, inside, outside the harbor, some nice spawning-sized big 4-year-old salmon that are still being caught either on the pier privately or charter fishing-wise close to the Sheboygan Harbor. And also we have a nice bite straight out in north of town, fishing 140 to 240 feet of water, kind of zigzagging around them depths for coho, rainbow, and other king salmon. So we got some variety left here in September. As long as we can get offshore, we do try and head out the Dumper Dan boats to the deeper water when the conditions are letting us do that. Otherwise, fishing close to shore. So some good fishing to be had, and there always is here later part of September, early October. Just watch the winds and watch the weather and get out there when the seas are calm.
Yeah, and we were both talking about some proposed increases in Chinook stocking by both Michigan and Wisconsin DNR. There are a lot of kings out there, and now they're talking about possibly increasing. That's got to go to public hearings, of course, but what do you think of that?
I'm all for it, Dan, as you know. I mean, we're just ending a 3-year increase that we did 3 years ago, and this is the last year of that 3-year term where we went to 1.2 million king salmon over the 870,000 we had planted. So we had about a 400,000 increase in Chinooks the last 3 years. And we also increased coho and steelhead as well. Brown remained down a little bit, and lake trout down a little bit. But a lot of the silverfish we added to the lake here this last 3 years. So now we're looking to do another 3-year term. I was actually at LTC here in Cleveland last week with a bunch of our WLBA members and also DNR staff. A lot of private boat anglers and charter boat captains were there talking about this future, and it looks real bright for us. Michigan already jumped the gun. They're increasing their stock here next year. I don't know how long their term's going to be, but I know ours is going to be a 3-year term, and we're going to Madison next month to start to talk numbers. We haven't talked numbers yet, but we are doing an increase in Wisconsin. They're doing it in Michigan. So this fishery is going to get better and better here in the next decade for sure.
Yeah, well, Michigan's is proposed. It's not firm, but it looks like they're going to do it. They've got a meeting on September 19th to have people weigh in on it, I guess, but it looks like they're heading in that direction. And there's another meeting here in Wisconsin on the 19th, which regards the proposed electronic harvest reports for Great Lakes charter boats, both on Lake Michigan and Superior. And I know that would impact your business and everybody else, even the single boat charters.
Well, even nowadays, too, I mean, everything's going, electronically over paperwork like we've done for many, many years, and it'll just be easier for everybody down the stretch, including the DNR, too, to collect this information. And I've had meetings with my captains, first mates, and my crew here at Dumper Dan's about it, and, there's some fine detail we have to work out. We got to obviously have a little bit of a grace period on when we can get these numbers in on a daily basis because, as you know, we're extremely busy, and we have, safety comes first with the boats, and the clientele and the customers come first. So after that's done, we can start submitting these reports electronically. Right now, we mail them to Sturgeon Bay, and, I've talked to Brad Ingold and Al Bizzle about this and Todd Kalish, and it's definitely the way of the future. It's going to be easier on everybody. We just got to work out the fine details and make it all good for everybody, and it'll just be easier down the stretch to get this information to our DNR.
Yeah, and if people have interest in that, you can go to the DNR website. The virtual meeting is on the 19th, and you can weigh in if you like. Proposing more Chinooks in the lake must mean that bait fish are still pretty abundant then.
Well, they are, and we keep talking with the DNR about that. Obviously, we see this every single day on our fish finders, graphs, sonars, in the belly of the fish as we clean them. We see all these bait fish and the size of the fish, Dan. They're healthy, they're big. A lot of big kings being caught here the last 4 or 5 years, and there's a lot of bait in the lake. That's a good thing, and an increase is definitely something we need to do again to get these numbers up and get this fishery to where it should be with the number of bait that are in the lake. We got good forage out there and need more stocking, and DNR's here to help us with that, and it's going to be a bright future here, down the stretch here on what they do. And with Michigan adding more fish too, I mean, this is an entire lake system, where if we add in Wisconsin more salmon and trout, we need the other states to help as well to make this fishery real solid, because nowadays we're fishing offshore, Dan, more than we ever had in all the years I've been doing this. So we're catching fish that are not just Wisconsin trout and salmon. There are other states as well. So everybody's got to kind of help out to keep this a world-class fishery on Lake Michigan.
Yeah, it is a shared resource, and everybody contributes and everybody benefits or has the opportunity to fish out there. Well, as you wind down your season, you're going to pull your boats next month, but your condos, they're open year-round, right?
Yeah, they're open year-round, and we do fill them in the winter. A lot of people do come here in the off-season. They might stay a week, a couple days, maybe a month at the most. They are open year-round. Give me a call, 920-377-1147. If you'd like to get a reservation on a condo to stay here in Sheboygan, if you're here in business or pleasure, what have you, just let me know. We're right here on the riverfront, walking distance to everything. But also fishing and charter packages with lodging for 2023 for next year. Get a hold of me this winter. I'll be taking reservations all year long. We do have a big push of gift certificates for Christmas, usually in December. So keep that in mind. And then also bookings January all the way till spring when we put the boats in the water here in, later part of April. So definitely get your reservations in. We were swamped this year. We had a great season. A lot of people here, very busy. So get your vacation plans kind of figured out and give me a call at 920-377-1147. Now, another thing, Dan, I've had quite a few that walked in my Riverfront store that follow us on this talk radio show, and I just want to thank everybody that's been following us here on all the radio stations that you provide for us for this fishing report. So I thank everybody for that, and I thank all our sponsors, because we had numerous sponsors that made this possible for you and I to bring this to the public, and I thank the sponsors, all of them as well, here in the Sheboygan area.
Yep, and there are some great businesses, and we've mentioned many of them over the course of the season, and we featured them in the podcast as well as the broadcast. And I think, again, next year you want to post these reports on your Facebook page again, right?
Absolutely. That was a great thing we added this year, and podcasts were outstanding. I mean, really good pictures and video, and we got to talk about our sponsors in depth. And on Facebook, people, if they didn't hear it on the radio on any given day we're on, they could jump on the Facebook page.
Yep, and I got to thank my web guy, Les Booth. He did a great job with it, and I hope he'll do it again next year. Les, I'll be in touch with you for sure.
And I hope we get them out fishing next year, too.
Yeah, we didn't make it this year, but let's get her done. So, all right, Dan, well, thank you so much for all the reports and for your support of our show and bringing those other sponsors on.
Yeah, thanks again for everything, Dan. It's been awesome, and I hope everybody really enjoyed what we've done here for everybody in the Sheboygan area.
You take care, and we'll be in touch.
You betcha, Dan. Thank you.
Captain Dan Welch, Dumper Dan Sport Fishing Charters of Sheboygan. His website is dumperdan.com. He's also on Facebook, Dumper Dan Sport Fishing Charters, and you can listen to this report once again on his Facebook page. I'm Dan Small. More Outdoors Radio right after this.